Hey guys, we've got a biggie. Israel Anti-Boycott Act. We're not allowed to boycott. Is that what this is? That's what it seems to be, from Senator Benjamin Cardin in Maryland. Guys, you need to get a hold of him. Everybody needs to be contacting their congressmen, their senators. They need to contact everybody and scream this from the rooftops. This is a very, very bad bill. You'll see here in just a moment precisely why. But right off the bat, it's to amend the Export Administration Act of 1979 to include the prohibitions of boycotts against allies of the United States, boycotts fostered by international government organizations against Israel, and to direct Export-Import Bank of the United States to oppose boycotts against Israel and for other purposes. This bill to amend the Export Administration Act of 1979 to include the boycotts, repeat of what I just said. This act may be cited as the Israel Anti-Boycott Act. Findings. Congress finds the following. The United Nations Human Rights Council, in this section referred to as UNHRC, has long targeted Israel with systemic, politically motivated assaults on its legitimacy, designed to stigmatize and isolate Israel internationally. The UNHRC maintains a permanent agenda item known as Item 7 to ensure that Israel will be criticized at every gathering of the UNHRC. Let's take a look at what that is. All right, Item C, just looking it up, bolstering the UN Human Rights Council's effectiveness. This is from the Council on Foreign Relations. Yes, I understand, it's CFR. Routinely elects the Council egregious rights violators such as China, Saudi Arabia, and until recently Russia. UNHRC's official agenda retains a standing agenda component, Item 7, focused exclusively on Israel. Human rights groups bemoan the UNHRC's inadequate response to rising tide of reprisals against human rights defenders. U.S. participation in the UNHRC can advance U.S. interests and lessen anti-Israel bias while supporting measures to avert and de-escalate human rights crises, thus reducing the likelihood of costly military interventions. In his paper, Mark P. Legan explained how the United States can exercise catalytic leadership to create a stronger UNHRC. What they're proposing here at the CFR is that if the United States was involved with this, even in Item 7, it would reduce anti-Israel bias, which actually makes sense. If the United States was showing itself to be not partisan in regards to Israel-Palestine issues, if they were not partisan in their behavior in participating in Item 7 and not boycotting it, it would actually help the United States because it would be seen as a bipartisan entity. Anyway, so this Item 7, it should be there because Israel they are seriously in error. Let's say it that way. Israel has done all kinds of terrible things to its people. And I'm not talking about, this is about Gaza, this is about the Palestinians, this is about the West Bank. This is not about that. It's not just those horrible things they've done to people. They were giving shots of Depo-Provera to the women who were coming there to Israel. Black Jewish people who were going home to the homeland. They were going to the homeland and they were getting birth control without their knowledge. This is fact. This is a fact. I checked on this myself years ago. They were giving the Depo-Provera shots to these new immigrants. Of course, these people are immigrating, and they were told they were getting vaccines, and they were actually getting Depo-Provera. Basically, a form of eugenics was going on there. They wanted white Jews, not black Jews, populating Israel. Anyway, so things like that. That's what this Item 7 is supposed to be doing in the UNHRC. In addition to, saying, hey, Israel, you can't use phosphorus It's illegal and it's against international law to use phosphorus on the people. And they were doing it. It was blatant and years ago, and there was plenty of images. You can look it up yourself. Anyway, so that's what this item 7 is supposed to do. And when the United States, if the United States was to participate in this, they could say, yeah, we know that Israel did this and this and this, but they also have great medical facilities. They also have great medical research. We should help them with that kind of thing. You know, there's no reason for, if the United States was not partisan, if they were truly not partisan, then they would be able to participate in this and debate. But if they can't debate, at its 31st session on March 24, 2016, they targeted Israel with a commercial boycott calling for the establishment of a database, such as a blacklist of companies that operate or have business relations with entities that operate beyond Israel's 1949 armistice lines, including East Jerusalem. Now, think about that clearly. Really, 1949 is when Israel was supposedly founded. Those are the boundaries that's supposed to be there. This boycott that's been going on is for those businesses that are operating beyond or outside Israel's 1949 armistice lines, to include East Jerusalem, which belongs to the Palestinians. Okay? At least they say so in here, in this bill. At its 32nd session in 2017, they're considering a resolution pursuant to Agenda Item 7 to withhold assistance and prevent trade with territories occupied from 1967. That includes East Jerusalem, West Bank, Golan Heights, stating that businesses that engage in economic activity in those areas could face civil or criminal legal action. Well, not only that, but here's the thing. The BDS movement, boycott, divest, sanction, these are any individual businesses that decide not to deal with Israel in this way, in those areas that these guys are talking about. That didn't belong to them. Golan Heights belongs to Syria. And that's what they're doing here. They're trying to get not just the West Bank, but the Golan Heights. That area, there's a lot of area there that belongs to Syria. It belongs to Syria. Now you've got the Genie Oil Company with Dick Cheney in charge of that bug, and they are trying to get in there and get that oil. It is good oil too. Anyway, so if you boycott that, for half a century, Congress has combated anti-Israel boycotts. Well, it wasn't Congress that was combating it. It's Israeli super PACs, it's Israeli lobbyists that are combating, and it's not discriminatory activity under the Export Administration Act. It's punishing people who are rude and horrible. We should not put our money into this. At its 32nd session in 2017, considering a resolution pursuant to Agenda Item to withhold assistance and prevent trade with territories occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Golan Heights, stating that businesses that engage in economic activity in those areas could face civil or criminal legal action. 5. For half a century, Congress has combated anti-Israel boycotts and other discriminatory activity under the Export Administration Act of 1979. It goes on. The recent action of the UNHRC is reminiscent of Arab League boycott, which also called for the establishment of a blacklist and promoted a primary as well as secondary, tertiary boycott against Israel, targeting the United States and other countries that trade or invest with or in Israel designed to harm Israel. Any businesses operating in or doing business with Israel, or companies that do business with companies operating in Israel. Guys, do you see how many times they said Israel in this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Israel, 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 Israel. You know that Israelis wrote this thing. Anyway, 7. Congress recently passed an anti-boycott, divestment, and sanctions measures in the Bipartisan Congressional Trade Priorities and Accountability Act in Section 909 of the Trade Facilitation and Trade Enforcement Act of 2015, which establishes, among other things, the opposition of the United States to actions to boycott, divest from, or sanction Israel. These are laws to say, no, we are never going to sanction Israel. Requirements that the United States utilize trade negotiations to combat state-led or international government organization-led actions to boycott, divest from, or sanction Israel. That means you're not allowed to have a business. Or you're not allowed to have any government that says, no, you can't BDS. Reporting requirements regarding the actions of foreign countries or international organizations. That's American Red Cross. That's any kind of charity, any kind of flotillas, any kind of international anything. News media. That establishes barriers to trade or investment for United States companies in or with Israel. Statement of policy Congress opposes the United Nations Council, the Council Resolution March 2016, which urges countries to pressure their own companies to divest or break contracts with Israel. Of course they would. They want to tell other countries what to do with their businesses, or what to tell their people, which, hello, I thought we were supposed to be pro-democracy. We're not, evidently. It calls for creation of a blacklist of companies that either operate or have business relations with entities that operate beyond Israel's armistice lines. Now, this is what they're telling you to do, is if you're a different country, we're going to tell you to tell your businesses that's supposed to be free market, democratic businesses, international businesses, don't do that. You can't say anything about Israel. In order to counter the effects of the actions or to boycott BDS from Israel, it encourages full implementation of the United States-Israel Strategic Partnership Act 2014. See, Obama was pro that. Come on. Through enhanced government-wide coordinated United States-Israel scientific and technological cooperation in civilian areas such as respect to energy, water, agriculture, alternative fuel technology, civilian space technology, and security. Well, let me tell you what, as an American citizen, I would love if we could have shared technological cooperation in civilian areas. I would love it if the Israelis would stop coming over here and stealing our technology and going back over to Israel and using that technology for their businesses. Stealing our technology. Okay? That would be nice. I would love if Israel would stop turning off the power down to Gaza and the West Bank, and stop killing them with water lack, taking their water, and stealing it, shutting off the water to the Palestinians or to the Muslims. Okay, I have heard people from other countries, they talk about going to Palestine and everything, and they say, oh, they're filthy, they stink, they're horrible. Well, that's because they don't have any water. They only get water for like 1 hour a day and stuff, and that's all they get. You try cleaning yourself and washing and keeping clean and pristine like cosmopolitan America if you have only 1 hour of water a day. And God help you if you have to work, and worse if you have to work into an Israeli controlled area where you have to stand in line for half a day just to get to work. Anyway, moving on. Civilian space technology. I dare say I don't think that the Gazans are going to be pursuing civilian space technology anytime soon. Foreign countries against other countries friendly to the United States or against any United States person. And so that means you can't boycott one of these singers, stars, actors, whatever have you, from going to Israel and having a concert. So you can't boycott. So all these Hollywood stars that go to Israel and perform in Israel, we can't boycott them here. Okay? I'm getting tongue-tied here with it. Foreign boycotts. It covers the foreign boycotts. What if Britain decided to impose BDS on Israel? What would they do then? Who's going to be the friend to the United States? Israel or Britain? Why do we have to have any friends? Screw it. Let's be by ourselves for a little while. Collect ourselves. Have a family meeting. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with this country? What's wrong with our government? Anyway, for even considering this. Violations. This is what I'm really after. This right here. Violations of Section 8A, Section 11 of this Act, pursuant to International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Let us take a look. So the penalties: unlawful act, it shall be unlawful for a person to violate, attempt to violate, conspire to violate, or cause violation of any license, order, regulation, or prohibition issued under this chapter. Civil penalty. Civil penalty may be imposed on any person who commits an unlawful act described in subsection A with amount not to exceed the greater of $250,000, or an amount that is twice the amount of the transaction that is the basis on the violation with respect to which the penalty is imposed. A criminal penalty: a person who willfully commits, willfully attempts to commit, or blah, 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 shall be fined not more than $1 million, or if a natural person, those of you who are into Black's Law Dictionary and you know about the natural law, if a natural person may be imprisoned for not more than 20 years or both. 2007, they had passed a civil penalty not to exceed $50,000 may be imposed on any person who violates, attempts to violate, or any license, order, regulations issued under the chapter, or willfully violates, willfully attempts to violate any license, order, regulation issued under this chapter, shall upon conviction be fined not more than $50,000 if a natural person may be imprisoned for not more than 20 years or both, and any officer, director, or agent of any corporation who knowingly participates in such a violation may be punished like a fine, imprisonment, or both. Isn't that nice? Violations of, okay, we got that. So definition of international governmental organization, section 16. The amendments made by this section take effect on the date of the enactment of this act and apply with respect to actions described in persons 8A. Remember, that's the prohibitions of the Export Administration Act of 1979, as continued in effect pursuant to International Emergency Economic Powers Act, taken or knowingly agreed to be taken on or after such a date of enactment. The President shall implement the amendments made by this section, exercising the authorities of President under International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Now, here's the thing. Who's the President's children? I'm not talking about Don Jr. I'm talking about Ivanka. Ivanka is a dual citizen. Get that right. She is a dual citizen with Israel. She is converted because she is married to Jared Kushner, who is also a dual citizen with Israel. All Jews have a homeland. They are automatically de facto dual citizens with Israel. Do you understand this? Who is behind this, and what do you think the President Trump is going to do? What do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to say, no, that's not a good bill? His son-in-law and daughter and his grandchildren are going to be sitting there, and he's going to sign this thing. And he's going to implement amendments probably even worse than what Congress has on here. The policy of the United States relating to boycott of Israel under Export-Import Bank Act of 1945 is amended in the 6th sentence by inserting after child labor the following: or opposing policies and actions that are politically motivated and intended to penalize or otherwise limit commercial relations specifically with citizens or residents of Israel, entities organized under the laws of Israel, or the government of Israel. Please understand what this means. This is telling everybody that you are not allowed to tell Israel no. That's what it means. Please understand this, folks. Opposing policies and actions that are politically motivated and are intended to penalize or otherwise limit commercial relations specifically with the citizens or residents of Israel, entities organized under the laws of Israel, that means government organizations, or the government of Israel. Please understand, people, what this means. The term politically motivated means actions to impede or constrain commerce with Israel that are intended to coerce political action from or impose policy positions on Israel. They say, rule of construction, nothing in this section shall be construed to alter the established policy of the United States or to establish new United States policy concerning final status issues associated with the Israeli-Arab or Arab-Israeli conflict, including border delineation that can only be resolved through direct negotiations between parties. Evidently not. Evidently that cannot be resolved through that. That's an opinion. This is an opinion. This is where our government is really getting full of themselves. When they can say an opinion and make it law. Please understand what they've done here. This is an opinion that can only be resolved through direct negotiations between parties. No, there's other ways to resolve it. Surely. Direct negotiations between parties is not the only way for a resolution here. The point is that they're making an opinion law. Kind of like that one that says only pharmaceutical drugs can cure cancer. That's a law. You need to know that. That's how they write this stuff into law. An opinion becomes law. We need to correct our government. We need to take our government back. By stating that negotiations are the only ways to make this relationship work, basically what they're saying is that sanctions will not work. Sanctions seem to be working everywhere else, right? So are they going to totally stop doing sanctions against other countries? No, they won't. Is that sanctions don't work. Boycotting, people boycotting individuals, has been working. BDS has been working. Divestment was working. Sanctions don't work by the government. What this does is it precludes anybody from the future wanting to put sanctions on Israel. So if Israel starts doing some really reprehensible, undeniably reprehensible things, the future of our future Congress will not be able to implement sanctions against Israel. It also makes it guaranteed financing of all future Israeli funding. Now, this bill shreds our First Amendment rights. Okay, let me rephrase. This bill shreds the First Amendment and our Bill of Rights. We have every right to not spend our money where we don't want to spend our money. We have every right to speak. We have every right. If I have a business and some Israeli company wants to buy it, I'm not allowed to say no because I don't like the politics. This is a very bad bill. Get a hold of your Congress critters and your senators. Get a hold of them. Get this. This has got to be stopped. Israel loves this bill. AIPAC loves this bill. John Hagee's Christian coalition, whatever that he calls himself, loves this bill, and they are pushing for people to have this bill go through. Because who's going to be their next special friend? It could be anybody we hate right now. I love all y'all. I want everybody to know that this is what's coming up in the future, because the government, once they take an inch, they don't give it back up. Look at our tax system. As Ronald Reagan once said, it is in government's nature to grow. The government will never reduce their taxes. It will always increase and grow. So you have to stop it ahead of time. I love you guys. I will talk to you later. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to subscribe and catch me on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just go to tfrlive.com. I will see you then. Find your quantum connections at truthfrequencyradio.com.